Your first showing isn't when a buyer walks through your front door. It's a buyer laying in bed at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, pulling your home up on their phone and deciding in about 30 seconds whether they'll ever come see it in person. Most sellers don't find that out until they've already listed, and then they watch their home sit. You're getting it early. If you're new to the channel, I'm Chase Heiland, a real estate advisor and broker here in Bozeman. This is part 2. In part 1, I showed you how to find what homes like yours are actually selling for before you list. If you missed it, start there because this one builds right on top of it. So here's the second thing you've got to do before you sell. And I'll be honest with you, it can be a little bit uncomfortable. It means looking at your home the way a buyer sees it, which is a very different thing from how you live in it every day. And stick around to the end because I'm going to show you the one thing that decides whether a home sells or sits, and it isn't what most people think. Here's why that 30-second scroll matters so much. You don't get a do-over on a first impression like that. The only way to get a second shot is to drop your price. And trust me, you don't want to be in that spot. And you already know how fast this happens because you do it too. You've pulled up a neighbor's listing and figured in about 5 seconds whether they're getting their price or leaving money on the table. The pictures load and you just know. A buyer is doing the exact same thing to your home. So here's what I want you to do. Go back to those homes you looked up in part 1. Open the ones that sold fast and close to asking and really study their pictures. Then open the ones that sat forever, kept cutting the price, or never sold at all. The difference is going to jump right out to you. The homes selling fastest in Bozeman all have a few things going for them, and none of it means you have to redo your kitchen. First, they look clean. Not just picked up, but actually clean in every single picture. The baseboards, the windows, the grout, the light fixtures, people spending $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, even more than that, they have high expectations. A home that looks scrubbed down before the pictures and in the pictures reads totally different from one that doesn't look clean. They also feel kind of blank, but in a good way. By that I mean no family pictures everywhere, no big collections, no wild paint colors, no rooms that scream somebody's hobby. You want a buyer picturing their life in there, not yours. The second they start thinking about whoever lives there now, you've already lost. And here's a little thing that sticks with buyers. When your place is packed with your stuff, that's how they remember it. They walk out talking about the house with all of the elk mounts, or the one with the model trains taking over the spare room, or the one with the artwork everywhere. You want them walking out remembering the home itself. Your collections, that just pulls their attention off of it. So box that all up before anybody points a camera. The pictures are also bright, well lit, shot by a pro, and exposed right. Not too dark, not all washed out, and definitely not shot sideways on a phone. We live in one of the areas with some of the most beautiful natural light. A good photographer knows how to use it, and a bad one has no idea what to do with it. Here's a quick tell for a bad shoot. If the windows are blown out, just a white glare where your mountain view should be, then your photographer exposed for the wrong thing. And in Bozeman, that's just a wasted picture because your view is at least half the reason somebody's buying. It may be the entire reason. If you can see the bridges or the Gallatins or anything close, those pictures need to be in the listing, in frame, sharp, and lit right. Treat that view like the selling point it is because that's what everybody wants. And one more trick worth doing, a good photographer can shoot the front of your home at dusk. Lights glowing inside, the sky going gold behind the bridges. You don't have to, but it adds a feeling, and feeling is what makes somebody stop scrolling. Color matters more than people think too. A gray that's too cool reads cold and flat on screen. Heavy yellows and dark wood paneled rooms photograph muddy and dated, even when the place is spotless in person. I keep a list of the colors that actually shoot well in Bozeman homes in my free seller's guide. So if you're about to repaint before you list, grab that first. If this is useful, I walk through the real Bozeman selling playbook like this all the time. So subscribe and you'll have it ready when it's your turn to list. Now, let me flip it around and show you the mistakes I keep seeing in Bozeman listings. The ones costing people real money without them even realizing it. And stay with me through these because right after I'm landing the one thing I promised you at the start, the single factor that decides whether a home sells or sits. So when it comes to pictures, the first one is when a listing can't keep it together. It starts strong, nice shot of the front, clean entryway, bright living room. Then you turn a corner and there's a bathroom that hasn't been touched since 2005, or a bedroom with stuff piled everywhere, or a garage that looks like a storage unit. Here's the thing about buyers. They judge your whole home by its worst picture. So don't give them a bad one. The next is fake staging, where they use a computer to drop furniture into an empty house. I get why people do it. It's cheaper than real staging, and it can look nice on screen. But when a buyer books a showing off those pictures and walks into a totally empty house, the letdown hits right away. And a letdown buyer turns into a doubting buyer real fast. If you're going to do it, make sure it looks good. And make sure your agent tells buyers up front that it's virtually staged. Ideally, it's in the listing photo itself. Another one is too many outside pictures before you ever show the inside. Buyers want to see inside the house. If your first dozen pictures are the front from 6 angles, the driveway and the street, a lot of people are going to close the listing before they get to the good stuff. If the outside isn't a showstopper, lead with your best inside shot. Get people in the door fast. And the last one, I see this all the time around here, the seller doesn't deal with the obvious problem. There's a bathroom that clearly needs work. The carpet's worn down to nothing. The kitchen feels stuck in another decade. The seller knows all of it, and the pictures just show it sitting there ignored. So if you're not going to fix it, your price has to account for it. Otherwise, fix it or find a way to soften it. Pretending it's not there doesn't make buyers miss it. It just makes them push harder on price. Another piece, and it's the one sellers underrate the most, especially on an empty or dated home, and that's staging. You can feel the energy when you walk into a home, and buyers feel it too. Even if they couldn't tell you why, an empty house or one full of tired old furniture just sits there flat. Set a place up right and it feels warm, and warm is what gets somebody picturing their own life inside it. You don't have to stage every home. A bright, updated home with nice furniture already in it can show great as is, but an empty home or a dated one, that's where staging earns its money. It gives the rooms a purpose and the buyer something to feel. And one more thing, get a good agent in early, even if you're a year or two out, so somebody can walk your home with you and tell you honestly what's worth doing and what's a waste. The sellers who did this don't get blindsided later. That early walkthrough and that early planning is a big part of how I work. I start building the plan with you long before the sign ever goes in your yard. Remember that one thing I told you to stick around for? Here it is, and it's the most important idea in this whole video. When a home sits in Bozeman, the seller almost always blames the wrong thing. They blame the dated kitchen, the busy road out front, the market, the season, a buyer who flaked. Here's what's actually true, and it's the opposite of where most people think. A home that sits almost never comes down to the home itself. It comes down to how you priced it and how you presented it, and those are both yours to control. Let me prove it, starting with price. I could list your home for $1 and it'd be gone by the weekend. Nobody would care about the dated kitchen or the busy road. Same house, same flaws, same week of the year. The only thing that changed is the number. So when a home sits for months in this valley, it isn't really the kitchen or the road talking. It's the market telling you the price is too high for what the home is right now. Now, price isn't always the number you drop. A lot of the time, the fix is the pictures and the presentation first. So that way the home earns the price you actually want. A home priced right with rough pictures never gets the showing, so it sits. A home with gorgeous pictures and too high a price gets the walkthroughs, but then the offers never come. You need both pulling the same direction. Price for what buyers will actually pay and looking as good or better than the homes you're up against. Part 1 was about reading your market. This one's about how your home actually stacks up on looks. Put the two together and now you have a real plan. Let me show you which sellers come out ahead in a market like this, because it mostly comes down to preparation. First, a quick word on the numbers, because you'll see them quoted a couple of different ways and it helps to know why. Right now, in the spring market, the typical single family home in the county is selling in about 14 days. And sellers who price it right are getting around 98% of their asking price. You might also see slower figures floating around, something like 35 days on market and closer to 5% under asking price. Both of those numbers are real, but they're measuring two different things. Our market has seasonality, same as everywhere, but here, nobody's in a hurry to move in the middle of February. So late winter and early spring run slower. And that's where that 35-day figure comes from. Hit the spring selling season and the same market moves a lot faster. The reason that actually trips people up has nothing to do with the calendar. That slower figure usually lumps every property type together, condos and townhomes included. And on average, those sit longer than single family homes. That 14-day number is a single family home on its own. So a pile of condos sitting on the market drags the average way up. And a seller with a house reads that number and then they panic over nothing. So when you're handed a days on market number, ask two things before you trust it. What season is it from? And what type of home is it counting? A condo number from February tells you almost nothing about your house in June. That number should be specific to your property type and specific to your neighborhood. Here's the part that holds across all of this though. The sellers winning right now in any season are the ones who did the prep we just walked through. They pulled the real numbers from part one, walked their home like a stranger would, fixed the obvious things, and hired someone who shoots real pictures and actually markets the place. Those homes sell faster and closer to asking than anything else out there. The ones getting left behind skipped all of this and then they listed on a hope. They figured buyers would just look past all of it. A few years back, that worked because homes flew off the market no matter what. It doesn't fly now. Over 1,000 homes in this market gave up last year without selling at all. Buyers have time now and they're using it to be picky. An unprepared home becomes the sitting home we talked about earlier. It lingers, the price comes down, and it sells for less than it should have. And here's why this matters for you specifically. If your home's in decent shape and you've owned it 5 years or more, you've got real money built up. Doing this work is how you hold on to that money. That equity is what funds whatever's next. The bigger place, the simpler home, maybe the move out of the valley. Doing the work now, protecting it now, that's how you keep your options open later. So here's your homework after this video. Walk through your own home like you're a buyer seeing it for the first time. Pull out your phone, go room by room, look at it the way a total stranger would. What jumps out at you? Is there anything that would make you hesitate to buy your home again? Write all of that down. Some of it is easy and free, tidying up, cleaning, putting away the personal stuff, finally fixing that thing you've been meaning to get to for 3 years. I'm guilty of that. Other items are bigger and they're worth a real talk about whether the money you'd put in actually comes back to you in your price. That simple list you made is where a real plan starts. It's the honest read on what a buyer will actually pay for your home at its best, measured against the number you were hoping for and whatever your neighbor got. Again, I'm Chase Heiland, a real estate advisor and broker here in Bozeman. Helping busy professionals buy and sell across the Gallatin Valley is what I do every day. I built my whole process around making a move like this feel clear and manageable, and it's called the Montana Move Method. So if selling's anywhere on your radar, even a few years out, that's exactly the kind of conversation I'm glad to have. I also put this whole prep process into a free seller's guide. Grab it in the description and you'll have the full checklist when you're ready. Now, I want to know what you think. What room are you most nervous about a buyer seeing? Tell me below and I'll weigh in.